Hey everyone, wanted to take a quick second before the next podcast starts to ask for your support. If you haven't done so already, please go to the Books4Guys.com website and go to the subscription page or the donation page to help us out today. Our whole mission is to get more books into the hands of young men. To do that, we need your help. We need that engine to help propel us to the goals we're trying to accomplish, and we can't do it without you. So please consider today subscribing or donating to help us accomplish that mission. Dr. Romie, it is so exciting to have you on the Books for Guys podcast today. I am excited for many different reasons that I'm going to share. And I've got your book here, The Busy Brain Cure, which
Yes.
I did finish this week. It's been one of those weeks where I feel like I've had a lot of the busy brain going. I've actually I've been in some leadership and networking groups this week where actually I went around and I was like, I've got a book for you. I've got a book for you. I've got a book for you. And I've shared your book a lot
Thank you.
recently. But no, thank you for being here. And how's your week been?
Oh my gosh, thank you for asking. And I'm excited to be one of the guys here with you today. And the one thing when you follow the brain shift protocol, and we're going to get into it, is I've learned to say it's not been a busy week, it's been a highly productive week. And
Highly
so to the
productive week.
gentlemen that are listening to this, I think psychologically it's easy to walk away when you see a female talking about the brain. Our social media is so um, designed by AI to confuse us that a woman is speaking to women and men are speaking to men. But please know, I've always considered myself one of the girls that's part of the guys. I'm an older sister to two younger brothers and four cousin brothers. So I and entered neurology at a time where less than 5% of the brain doctors were women. So I've worked around men. I'm a
Yeah.
C-suite executive, and when I speak, it's largely to audience of men, and so that leads into the Busy Brain Cure book. When we researched in 17,000 people, I'd say probably likely more than half the brains we researched were men because that's just the audiences I speak to. So it is so important for me to address men's brain and mental health here with you today, and more importantly, to get men reading books.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it's kind of funny. I was joking. My wife kind of jokes about this. She's like, there are certain ladies that when they tell you to do something, like you respond really well. And I'm like, yeah, I have like some managers and like leaders who have been, female that I've worked with. And I don't know what it is, but like when they say something, I'm like, yep, got it. Yes, ma'am. Like it's done. And so having someone like yourself, I just think there's going to be so many people who are receptive, and especially like kind of like I already described that when I was recommending your book in one of my leadership groups this week, you would have laughed at like how many guys were like, what was the name again? Dr. Romie, the busy brain.
Yeah,
Like they were just,
Busy Brain
what,
Cure,
what does she
absolutely.
have to say? I could use her help.
You know what? I got it because I feel like whatever has happened in the workplace and in society, we don't allow men to be vulnerable to talk about brain and mental health. It's really normal in all these years I've been doing workplace wellness for men to comfortably come up and talk to me about their libido, their testosterone levels, hormones,
Yeah.
no problem. But something feels more vulnerable when we're talking about your brain and mental health. So I always tell,
Yeah.
like, as a chief wellness officer to over 13,000 employees, I always tell people, consider me your Dr. Auntie. Come on, let's
Yeah.
come in and have a chat. And if I'm going to also nag a little bit like a good Dr. Auntie would, you
Yeah.
know? Yes.
No, that's perfect. I love how you refer to the aunties in your book, and I'm like, that's a perfect description. Like, yep, auntie said this, auntie said that,
The
so I'm
voices in your
listening.
brain, oh, what are the
Yeah,
aunties, the elders saying? I think it's a universal theme that we,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, give so for a lot of people who haven't read your book or aren't familiar with you, obviously triple board certified physician. You're a speaker, you're an author, you're a chief wellness officer. Uh, there's no one with more credentials than you to be able to write this book with how busy that you have been and what led to you diving into your mission now and what you're sharing with people. And then even now, one of my questions I'll ask you is even now with how much you're doing, how do you personally keep yourself in check, following this? But just give kind of the story of your what you were doing and how that, because it's incredible what you went through health wise.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of personal attachment to that because I've had people in my family that have experienced something similar, but yours was very extreme. But
Yeah.
give us kind of a story of what you all accomplished and kind of how it's led to what you're doing now.
Thank you, Chris, for the accolades and talking about my credentials. But the truth of the matter is, this is a personal mission that I'm on. I was in my young 30s, and on the exterior, I had all the titles you're supposed to have at your job. I was a full professor doing research or a doctor, just had my life pulled together. On the family side, divorced, looking for my second chance at love, um, dutiful daughter to elderly parents.
Hmm.
And I learned firsthand that chronic stress can kill you, and it nearly killed me. And I should have known better. I'm a brain
Hmm.
doctor. We don't recognize that when we harbor and live with chronic stress, it literally changes functionally and structurally your brain and the
Yeah.
rest of your body. And we keep pushing ourselves, working at the edge of burnout, feeling like I don't have a choice. I have to juggle all these roles that I play personally and professionally.
Yeah.
And at age 34, I ended up in life-saving surgery. And I woke up in the hospital realizing nothing I've learned in medical school is going to help me now. I
Yeah.
need to change the way I'm living. And from my journey to heal from chronic burnout, I had this aha moment of I don't want any other high achieving man or woman to ever feel like they are unseen and alone at work. I know how
Love
bad that
that.
felt and it nearly killed me. And
Yeah.
that's what drives my mission at the Brain Shift Institute today and what drove almost 7 years of research to go into this book to understand how we can help high achieving professionals continue to succeed without the stress. And
Yeah.
that is why I researched and wrote The Busy Brain Cure.
Yeah. Well, how like so you're and again I'm kind of going back in your story because it was just what you were going through. You didn't have any control at that point. Like you were able to control a lot of this. You weren't controlling the stress, but you had a grasp. You thought
I
on
did.
everything that you were handling,
Yeah.
and to the point where you didn't. And
No.
it seemed to be such a like sobering moment for you, where you're like, I hate this, but there's nothing I can do about it. How just as you and you mentioned it too, like being one of the only women, but like, why do you think you felt the way you felt having to achieve all of this and having to be on top and having to like because you accomplished so much,
Yeah.
but we talk to people, I've talked to people who are successful and like there's this, it's always another, the goalpost moves. So when
Yes,
you
it does.
accomplish what you want to move, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
what's next, what's next, what's next?
Yeah. I
Just
I
why
I
do you
think
think you did that?
I think it's inherent in who I am as the eldest child, as a daughter of immigrants. I was born with a success mantra, and that was my mother and father came here in the late 1960s from South Asia, knowing that
Yeah.
about the American dream. And it was just understood that I would grow up to become a doctor. And back then, young kids, especially young girls, were not tracked into STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, or medicine. And that drive for excellence has always been in me unapologetically. So the opening lines of my book are I wrote this book for you, my fellow type A, unapologetically success driven professionals who don't want to be told to slow down. Otherwise, we'll run over you with our wearable tech and our designer shoes.
Yeah.
And, I get something in my head, as does every other leader and success driven professional out there. And you're right. Nothing will move the goalpost. And then you hit that level of success
Yeah.
and you inherently think, what's next? And I want to normalize being ambitious. I
Yeah.
want to normalize success because in today's world of rapid change, it is going to take leaders in every industry who
Correct.
want to innovate and move the goalpost. But what if I said we could succeed without stressing ourselves out? And that's
Yeah.
breaking the stress success cycle.
Yeah.
In simple
No.
terms, what was I doing before? I was using food, like
Yeah.
chocolate and alcohol like wine to medicate myself, and superficial titles. I Some people are annoyed when they read the first few chapters of the book, but it's tongue in cheek
Yeah.
because as a woman, I thought buying another pair of designer shoes or wearing labels would make me feel better. I think that's
Yeah.
similar for men. They think they need another title, they need another expensive piece of electronics, watch, whatever your thing is,
Yeah.
and you wake up and you realize this ain't working and I'm not
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, it's interesting, and I'll laugh. My wife's gonna listen to this, so she knows everything. But like when I read your opening line about that, I looked directly at her because she is very type A, and
Yeah.
something similar happened to her as well. We've had some health battles with her because of what we've been told is the stress, and just she's the
Yeah.
same way. Like she's the hardest worker I've ever met. If she wants to accomplish something, she will. I can't brag on her enough. If she wants to go, I mean, I've never seen a woman, and you're very similar. I was just like, I've never met a lady just
Yeah.
go like you go and just not afraid
Yeah.
of work. But ultimately, ran herself into the ground a little bit to where she's
Oh.
she's had to pull back. But and she's reading your book too. She was like, and she's realized this over the last 6 months, but she was just like, man, I wish I'd have read this earlier. Like, probably would have
Don't
really
we
helped
all?
me.
Don't
Yeah,
we all? But I think
yeah,
sometimes we have to fall into a valley from a mountain we built ourselves
yeah,
to realize that's not the mountain I'm meant to be on.
correct,
And we
correct.
we do that and it's okay, but that's why we research the 8-week protocol. You fell in a valley, you're having symptoms that the doctor is saying related to stress that can be anything from failing memory,
Yeah,
failing libido, difficulty losing weight, difficulty focusing. You're
yeah,
thinking, I'm just not as sharp as the young kids coming into the office using AI. No, it's none of that. You
yeah.
have a busy brain and I'm inviting you to brain shift.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoy reading like the steps and how you focus so much on the hormones and the
Yes,
health. And
yes.
because we've learned so much about hormone disruptors and things in
Hmm.
the environment that are kind of uncontrollable, like with the way things are made now. But you can do your best, obviously. But a lot of people are just unaware of some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but you dive into some of these things. Talk about just the importance of health specifically, because and the hormones
I do.
specifically, because I
Yeah.
don't think enough people
We don't.
understand that.
Agreed. And I want to gear this conversation to men since we're on Books for Guys,
Yeah.
because when we say hormones to men, the only thing that typically pops up in mind is what's my testosterone level? And that's okay. I'm sexually performing well in the bedroom. Like, I don't need this podcast. Whoa, we have it all wrong there.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, in Gen Z and in millennials, we have an anxiety crisis. That's busy brain. That's neuroinflammation in the brain. So
Mm-hmm.
when we're under chronic stress and on top of it, addicted to our digital devices, we're creating what I call neuroinflammation. Science tells us that in the airport traffic control tower of our brain, known as the hypothalamus. That is the command center for all 50 hormones in your brain and body, hormones that have to do not just only with your sex drive, but with your ability to focus, stay calm,
Mm-hmm.
build up muscle strength, your memory, your endurance, your ability to sleep okay, your immunity. And so what I find when men, step one is, and we'll put a link in your show notes, is you can take the busy brain test for free. It
Yep.
gives you a brain score. That's how we did the research in 17,000 people and came up with a protocol. And you get a score. And if you score above a 55 as a man, please get the lab slip out of chapter 16 and save your life. Demand that your primary care doctor do those labs. We miss checking thyroid in men. When you're under chronic stress, it can tip your thyroid. And that's when you think, why can't I focus? Do I need some more coffee or ADHD meds? I'm anxious. Do I need some THC or CBD?
Which you don't need
You
more
don't,
of.
it's going to make the neuroinflammation worse, the THC.
Mhm.
CBD, definitely it's a part of the protocol for some. So we want you to check your thyroid, your adrenal hormones like your cortisol and your DHEA testosterone levels. Like
Mhm.
all of those are combined.
Yeah.
And that is the difference between being able to stay calm and working at the edge of your cutting performance, without burning out,
Yeah.
is having your thyroid, cortisol, dopamine, and testosterone all leveled out. And when you have a busy brain, I know one of those four things is off.
Yeah. Well, it's refreshing that you're sharing this because it is hard to find doctors and people in the medical space that do these type of tests with men, and sometimes it's you find a general practice doctor and it's your normal stuff and you're like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
fine, and you keep going. Even my wife, she was very similar. Hey, you're fine, until something drastic happens,
Right. Yeah.
like to yourself or someone else, and then you really start digging in, like
Yeah.
something's wrong, something's wrong.
This is the wrong way of thinking. I tell now both men and women when I'm speaking, we kind of think you have to wait till you're 40 to start getting your blood pressure and cholesterol check. I actually think as a part of a wellness check for men, at least once a year, go in and get your labs. And I want to know men's hormonal health as a marker of your wellness, your
Yeah,
longevity, your peak performance. And
yeah,
male athletes and executives that have been working with me for the last decade, that's the first thing we do. And we look at also things like your fasting insulin level, your fasting glucose level, not just to screen for diabetes, but taking
yeah,
a look at how your brain is functioning with the rest of your body. And
yeah,
there are things we can do to optimize that so you are performing physically and mentally at
yeah,
your cutting edge. And what does that mean? I'm 50 years old and I'm cognitively sharper and working better than when I was 25 and graduated from
yeah,
medical school.
yeah. Well, I kind of spinning to that. I saw your video on LinkedIn about that this week, and you were talking about it, the importance of reading a physical
Yes.
book rather
Yes.
than looking at a screen.
Yeah,
Talk about that a little bit, because
I
I'm a
do.
big fan. I have a hard time reading like a Kindle,
I
thankfully.
do.
Yeah, so physical
Yeah.
book, I stack those up all day long. But
Yeah.
you specifically were talking about the importance of that.
Yeah.
Just dive into that for a second.
I do. First of all, I feel sad when I hear social media influencers say reading is dead and that people are just getting their information from social media or AI. It's going to cognitively slow you down. And in today's world, if you are working in any job, your ability to reason and remain emotionally calm at the same time and emotionally intelligent is what's going to keep you employed. Forget
Yeah,
AI taking over. This is the neuroscience of change management
yeah,
of me being in the room with some of the biggest corporations talking about it. So then how do you keep cognitively sharp? One, I would say, sure, read and read new things, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. And you can do an audiobook or a Kindle or reading a physical book. I want you to know they all activate different parts of your brain. So an audiobook or a podcast that you're listening to is more lighting up your auditory center, and you're not likely to retain critical information. So if you're wanting to know how to, fix the garbage disposal under your sink to learning how to heal your busy brain, an audiobook is not likely to give you the ability to retain that memory. Now, when you talk about actually physically holding a book, it's creating multiple neural networks because your hand is touching a page. Your eyes are seeing a physical 3D structure that your hands are touching. And we know that it helps to promote a superior memory and prevent memory loss. Two things: you're getting smarter and you're not losing
yeah,
brain cells. In like
yeah,
really simple terms, the science is fascinating. And by the way, this is the same if you pick up and read a magazine. But you and I are, we say leaders are readers. We like to, read physical books. Now, look, I travel for a living. I've got to take my Kindle along with me because I'm carry-on bags only. And I try sometimes to have a physical book. They're big and heavy, so it is.
yeah.
So it's not always perfect, but when I'm at home, it is the joy that I give myself.
Yeah. No, well, I'm glad I'm not an audiobook guy then. I have several friends who they like to brag, I made it through 80 books this year. And I'm like, oh, okay, you listened to them, didn't
Yeah.
you? Um,
You know what? That's better than nothing,
that
and
is
it's
better than
okay.
nothing.
And my exercise is I get up to walk every morning so that I've dosed my brain, to prevent with dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins to
Yeah.
prevent busy brain during the day. And that's a great time to listen to an audiobook. But honestly, I tend to listen to the fiction books at that time, a good story that'll get me lost.
Same, same. Yeah,
Yes.
if I'm
Mhm.
riding on like a stationary bike or walking, it seems to be a lot easier to listen to something fiction versus
Yes.
nonfiction where I have to focus
Yeah.
on it a whole
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Um, But typically, I'm the same as you. When I travel, I do have a Kindle, and it just for the mere fact it takes up less space. But when at home, definitely prefer a physical book or somewhere I'm going to be a while. But that makes a lot of sense. Like more sensory is taking place because of my hands,
Yeah.
my brain. I'm reading. Like that makes
Yes.
a lot of
And
sense.
it's improving the memory and focus networks in your brain by that multisensory experience. And it's a great way to unwind at night and give our eyes a break from screens. So no more
Yeah,
binging whatever's on Netflix, ESPN Sports Center. Like
yeah,
once all of that is done, have some time to decompress at night, what we call that period for your brain dump and the brain break, that 30 to 60
yeah,
minutes of digital detox. And a book is the perfect way to do it.
yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, and it's all stuff that I've heard, but it's so refreshing to like hear from. These are things that sometimes you just have to hear again and again and again to like make yourself, and I'm sure you know something cognitive about that, just being reinforced, reinforced, reinforced to focus on that. Um, when you talk to people, like when you're speaking to a group of executives, what's some of the first things you say to them to help them with some quick action steps to start taking to help with their busy brain? What are just some simple things that you're like, hey, start today,
Start
if
here.
nothing else, to do
Agreed.
this?
The first thing I'm a numbers person. I'm a data person, and I think most executives would understand that. Um, Sometimes those generic wellness tips don't work. So I want you to know your brain score. Just like here in the West, you need a credit score to get a mortgage or a car loan. Get your brain score so we know where you're starting. And we'll put the link here in the show notes to the busy brain test. Number one, it gives you a key of where to start. The other simple tips I give for peak performance to high achieving executives is I want you to think of that precise 30 minutes in the morning when your alarm goes off. What are you doing in that first 30 minutes of the morning? Most people give me, oh, well, I'm in the gym working out. And I'm like, no, no, it took you more than 30 minutes to wash your face, get up, have your pre-workout drink, and drive to the gym or walk down to the gym in your building. Most people turn off the alarm on their phone and then start scrolling their emails, their text messages, social media, the news headlines. That is raising your stress hormone levels and killing your focus, making you more anxious during the day and blunting your memory because of the cortisol. You need to dose your brain in the morning, the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. And so we say do two or three things in that first 30 minutes that are restorative to your brain and your body. So mine is hydrate, pray, meditate. Take your dog, go in the backyard, drink your coffee outside watching the sunrise. Read a physical newspaper, though the news these days are stressful, so that's a give or take, right? That's the key. Stretch in your room. I think one of the best things I had an executive tell me, a C-suite executive, is I'm going to turn off my alarm and wake up and hug my wife.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I loved that because too often when we have a loving partner next to us, we both are like, man, you had to get up this early. Or
Yeah.
put on the snooze. I'm going to sleep another 30 minutes, hun, while you're showering. Like, what if the first thing you did was hug your partner and you didn't worry
Yeah.
about morning breath and all that messy hair? You just did it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I think what we did is we decided to get a dog. So that dog has to be
Yes.
walked. So every morning, that's our routine, thankfully, is get up
What's
and
your
walk the
dog's
dog.
name?
Miller.
Hi, Miller. Auntie
Yep.
Romie says hi and that you are a good boy and you deserve an extra treat today.
Oh, he will love that. Yeah, he'll get special treatment there. But that's something too. My wife was like, "Well, we'll walk more with the dog." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." But it really does help. Like we wake up, and for the most part, we're not perfect. I leave the phone at home
Yeah.
while we go for the walk and get outside in the sun. You talk about like leave your sunglasses off, let the sun
Yeah.
with your rhythm of your body wake up properly, and yeah, actually talk a little bit about that too, because you're talking about the your internal rhythm of like waking up
Yeah.
properly, going to bed at the right time.
It's known as your
Just
circadian rhythm or your biological clock that's driven by that airport traffic control tower. So remember I said when we're chronically stressed, it affects your hypothalamus and now your rhythm is off. So that's why you think you get a second or third wind at night. That's actually stress hormones driving you to work late into the night and do emails. And in the morning, when you should be most energized, you're feeling really drained. And so
Hmm.
one of the things we say when that's happening, we actually give scientifically recommended supplements to take at night. Magnesium glycinate, which most of us are lacking, and you can't really get nutritionally in the current foods we have in the West.
Yeah.
And then typically, if you're having racing thoughts or waking up in the middle of the night, we recommend either 5-HTP or L-theanine, and we go through
Yeah.
the details of that in the book. We just need for 2 weeks for you to do that to reset your biological clock so that
Yeah.
you're naturally feeling calmer in the evening and really feeling like you can unwind from a long day of work and have a personal life. And in the morning, waking up feeling energized to tackle your day. And you asked at the beginning of the podcast, how do I do that all? Because I follow
Yeah.
my brain shift protocol to the best of my abilities.
Yeah.
And here's the last thing tip I'm going to give to people. When you're thinking about what to eat, a lot of male executives ask me, Dr. Romie, what's my ideal intermittent fasting window? Well, it really depends what's going on with your circadian rhythm. I need
Yeah.
your brain score. But what if I made it even more simple than that? Because most of us have business breakfasts, lunches, dinners,
Yeah.
and sticking to a fasting window is really difficult. My rule is if you're going to eat a high glycemic food like white rice, white flour, white potatoes, white sugar, then no caffeine. And if you're going to have caffeine anytime during the day, then no high glycemic carbohydrates for at least 1 hour before or after.
Yeah.
That alone keeps you calm and focused and going. And quite bluntly, most people pick the caffeine. I know I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you just keep moving during the day. And it's
Yeah.
how I've reset that biological clock. And you kind of
Yeah.
can keep clean while having a busy business schedule.
Yeah. So you see, I have one more like really in depth question for you because I'm very interested in. So again, you've kind of transitioned,
Yeah.
from you follow what you're writing to the best of your ability, but you're still extremely busy, and you're very passionate about what you do, and you're very motivated by it. And like myself and a lot of people that I know, like as you're building something you're excited about and you're motivated about it, like I personally like I'll wake up in the middle of the night with thoughts. I'm like, I gotta make a note about that because I'll forget it. But it's more excitement than stress.
Yeah.
How do you determine when you're getting to the point of and maybe the test helps with that, but how do you determine when you get to the point of like redlining and this is not healthy for me versus maybe like a 2 to 3 week sprint where you're just overly excited more so than anxious? Is there
Yeah.
a difference there? Like
There is.
do you
There is. Listen, we all have business cycles where you're going to need to be on peak performance for a few weeks, a business deadline, a report's due, a
Mhm.
proposal. I think of the few months I had pushing the book to get it to bestseller status, in late 2023 to early 2024, but you can't sustain that at all times.
Yeah.
So you already answered it. I want to know your brain score. I also tell high achieving individuals like yourself, Chris, this is when you wake up in the middle of the night with a great idea, have pen and paper by your bed and write it down. But trust that if it's your intuition and your gut instinct driving you from passion, that idea is going to be there in the morning when you wake up and
Mhm.
meditate. Write it down.
Yeah.
When you're waking up in a panic, like, oh God, don't forget to pay the mortgage or the electricity bill or pick up your kid from soccer because your partner is not available,
Yeah.
that's a busy brain.
Yeah.
And I call it the difference between being busy during the week versus being highly productive. And I am human. I have weeks where I have busy brain and my team feels it. And it means I need to put myself in a timeout. And what does that timeout look like, even for 30 minutes or an hour to recharge,
Yeah.
to walk outside, to put on sound healing music? We have a list for you in the book, even sometimes take a power nap, and then get myself focused of what really needs to be done right now to be productive. Because most of the time we are doing things to distract ourselves rather than to be focused.
Yeah. No, that's good. That makes a lot of sense because sometimes as I was reading the book, I was kind of struggling with that. I was like, am I anxious? Am I just excited? Am I like, when do
Yeah.
I get to the point? But I have started to realize there are times where I'm like, yeah, I need to go outside for a walk. I need
Yeah.
to take a break, put my phone down, and reset because I'm getting to a point where I'm not going to stop if I don't stop now. I
Yeah,
need
no,
to
so
do this
there
reset.
will
Yeah.
there will always be another sales email to write. There
Yeah.
will always be a full email inbox. There will always be a family member that you've been meaning to text or call for a long time. Like there is always
Yes.
another to-do list. That is always a busy brain. But
Yes.
when you brain shift you can keep focused of what are the three personal priorities I have today? What are the three business priorities I have today? And everything else gets delegated or
Yeah.
ditched.
Yeah.
And that's the sign that you have brain shifted and you're in peak performance.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, and this is all stuff. I'm so curious myself, like because I'm just so interested in how to, and we all are as high achievers. You want to
Yeah,
optimize and be your best, and so I
always.
wouldn't know. I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to dive into your book and figure that out. Like, how can I be the best me every day to succeed and hit the levels that I want to without having to go through what
It
you
is.
did.
Chris, it's every company I've worked with, there are men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that have had awful moments like I have and didn't realize it was the chronic stress. And like I said, I want men to have a safe space to talk about this. And thank you for with your website and this podcast for providing that safe space for men to say, I'm going to get my brain score. I'm going to grab those labs. I want to be in peak performance.
Yeah,
I may not be feeling my best. I'm going to do something about it. And
yeah,
that's thank you, because even if we save one life with your mission, then you and I have done our job. And it's an
yeah.
honor to serve. And thank you for being passionate about your mission to get more books to guys.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, and that's certainly the mission. And like I said, this week alone, everyone I was meeting with, I was like, "You need the busy brain cure. You need the busy brain cure. You need the busy brain cure." Um, do you plan? So this is an interesting question for you. Obviously, you're still there's so much to talk about with this book, and obviously to share for many years. Um, do you have plans maybe in the future to as things change and more things come out and as you personally learn more and are able to optimize what you teach, do you think you'll ever write another book?
Oh, it's in the pipeline already. Chris,
Okay,
they
okay.
say never from, I will tell you, last year, the first 6 months taking on a new C-suite role in a company as chief wellness officer for Great
Yeah,
Wolf Resorts and a global book launch, I was like, never.
yeah.
And everybody kept asking me, what happens when you heal a busy brain? And it is on the last page of my book. I ask, you find hope again.
Hmm.
And I ask people, what do you find hope? Um, what are you holding hope for? And people
Yeah,
struggle. And I have been researching in this troubled world, how can you teach individuals and teams and companies to find hope again? And I am just identifying the research partners. And probably I hope to be back very soon with you and
oh
with you
yes.
hope assessment and walking people through the science of being a hope holder. And so I end with this model, Chris, is you and I talked, one to one prior to recording this podcast. I am holding the hope that your mission, Books for Guys, succeeds and that more guys pick up physical books, whether it's mine, The Busy Brain Cure, or any of the other great fiction and nonfiction titles you've recommended, and that they, with our conversation, improve their brain and mental health. May you continue to succeed. I am a hope holder for your mission. I believe in this. And that is what we are teaching leaders is how to be a hope holder.
Yep. Well, I love that and I appreciate that so much. And yeah, hope, purpose, clarity, all of that helps me just with the excitement of knowing what I'm doing is meaningful and purposeful. And everyone I talk to is saying like, yes, this is awesome. Yes, this is amazing. Like what you're doing is needed. And so it just continues to drive. And so I really appreciate that. That means more than you know. Um, but no, Dr. Romie, thank you so much. This, again, I think is going to be so beneficial for people to listen to. And I think it's going to generate a lot of interest to want to read and deep dive into your book. And hopefully a lot of executive level teams reaching out to you saying, hey, we need your
Yes.
help.
You know what
So,
it is? This is about how do you use brain science to deal with the change and you yourself as a leader be in peak performance and build resilient teams. That is literally, we break down the brain science to help you and your teams do this. So I appreciate it and thank you for being my hope holder, Chris.
Absolutely. And we'll include all details in the show notes, how to get a hold of Dr. Romie, how to look into potentially booking her and her team to come help. Obviously, her book is most everywhere you can purchase it. Please leave a review, which we'll include that as well. So when you read the book, please leave it. I know that means a lot to Dr. Romie
Yes.
and all the authors that we work with. But no, Dr. Romie, thank you again for your time. And we will definitely be doing this again when your other book finishes
Yes.
because we will want to talk about that as well. I know that is going to have a big impact. And so I cannot wait to have you back on the Books for Guys podcast to talk about your second book.
Chris, thank you for being my hope holder. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Dr. Romie.
Bye bye.
Bye.